This is Inside the Right. I'm here with my co-host and longtime Republican operative Tim Miller to give the viewers an insider's look into what's happening on the right. So, Tim, the target is on Nikki Haley's back right now as she surges into second place in the Republican primary, and she doesn't seem to be responding well to the pressure. First off, here's a clip when she was asked about pardoning Trump.
Him if he is convicted. You say nobody who gets a pardon who's not convicted. But President Ford preemptively pardoned former President Nixon. Nixon hadn't been charged with anything. We don't know when these Trump court cases are going to finish up or even when they're going to go to court. So if you become president, would you pledge to preemptively pardon him or only if he is found guilty?
Well, I think you only do it if someone's found guilty. So, what I'll say is this is about moving the country forward. And the last thing we want to see is an 80-year-old former president sitting in jail.
Okay, so she'll only pardon Trump if he's convicted. She fails to promise a blanket pardon, which of course is going to piss off the Trump fans. And the fact that she's offering any pardon at all kills her with everybody else. So how is splitting the baby a good strategy here?
Yeah, I don't know. You might be overstating the case a little bit with surges. Nikki Haley is just tinkling up into second place, maybe, or dribbling up.
Surging 40 points behind.
Yeah, surging. Surging into a distant second. So I think that this answer, which is bad on the merits, so I like to get into, but is also reflective of a couple of her other gaffes recently. The slavery, gaffe, where she talked about, where she, when that was asked about what was the cause of the Civil War, and she, didn't say slavery at first, and then kind of, backtracked on that. There've been several other issues where I think she's run into this. She doesn't exactly know right now who she's running for, right? And she doesn't want to offend anybody. I think this was a good critique that Chris Christie had. I think it was very apt. Nikki Haley does not want to offend the anti-Trumpers. She doesn't want to offend the Trumpers. And I think she's finding herself in the sour spot as now everybody's focusing on her, where she's kind of pissing off both of them, as you said, because a different type of campaign, right? Like I used to work for a lot of moderate candidates. I've done the New Hampshire game before for Jeb Bush and others, where it's like you're going up to New Hampshire and you're trying to reach these more moderate Republicans, the independents that cross over, maybe even some conservative Democrats. And if you're focused in your brain on reaching those people, the answers to these questions are obvious. Like, no, Donald Trump should be held to account for the law. And obviously slavery is the cause of the Civil War. But if you have in the back of your head, ooh, but I also need to win the Trump voters in my home state of South Carolina when I get down there, you find yourself doing this sort of waffling. And I think that Nikki is really going down a pretty similar path to the one Ron DeSantis already tread, which is that it's really tough to appeal to both these groups within the party.
And I guess the issue here is that I guess she realizes if she doesn't appeal to the Trump fans, then there's really no viability for any real candidacy within the Republican Party. But at the same time, if she doesn't appeal to anybody else, then what lane is she even running in? I mean, she can be the fourth person to pretend to be Trump or Trump light in a campaign, in a primary where Donald Trump is already leading by 45 points.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Now, to me, I think this was probably always a fool's errand. Donald Trump has a stranglehold on 35–40% of the party. Like, you already have a very narrow window, right? But my view from the start is the right thing to do is consolidate the anti-Trump group, which is about 10%. Then get the group that liked Trump okay, but they're ready to move on. They didn't like January 6th. They're tired of all the nonsense. This is your college-educated Wall Street Journal reading kind of suburban dad, the stereotype. Like consolidate that group next. That's another 12%. Then you've got about 25%. You're almost there. And had Nikki or Ron done that and gotten a clear second place, so they consolidate that group, then you can start to make an electability case, right, to the Trump voter, which is like, yeah, you might like him better, but man, we need somebody that can win. The problem that Nikki and DeSantis had run into is you can't make that electability case if you don't seem electable. And DeSantis ran this bumbling campaign where he seems not popular. It's like, who would look at him and be like, that guy's more electable? Like, that guy is, pathetic. And Nikki is, in this situation where it's like, well, it's hard to see how she's going to be more electable when she's waffling all over the place, when Trump's beating her by 40 points, right? So, the electability case is hard to make when you keep losing. And so I think both of those candidacies, they had narrow paths that were undermined by their strategy, and I think now they're really stuck in a corner. It's just very hard to see how they get out of it.
What would you have advised her to do on the issue of a Trump pardon?
Well, again, I think that if you started at the beginning of this campaign, by making clear that your candidacy was about the fact that you just think that Donald Trump went too far on January 6th, right? Had she started there to appeal to that 15-20%, you don't have to go Chris Christie. You don't have to go Tim Miller. You don't have to talk about how Donald Trump should be jailed or he's the worst president ever, all that. I'd love to hear that, but that's not the way to win a Republican primary.
Yeah.
But had she started there, right, which is what Donald Trump did was wrong on January 6th, he should be held accountable. We should let the courts play out. Nobody's above the law in this country. That that might have disqualified her, but then at least that would have been the baseline for this campaign, right? It might have disqualified her with the MAGA base, right? But that would have been the baseline for her campaign, and she could have started from there and kind of consolidated that group, and then made the case to those other folks. And maybe again, maybe this doesn't work, but in that case, there was nothing that was going to work. But then you make the case to the MAGA folks. It's like, guys, we can't get behind somebody that has 91 counts against them, felony counts against them. Like say what you want about him, but that's not going to be a successful path. Instead, she started the campaign by doing the same thing DeSantis and all these guys did, was kind of echoing Trump's talking points about how the deep states have to get him. So the deep state can't be out to get him, and you're pardoning, and you're not pardoning, right? She's been all over the place. So I think that's probably where I would have started for, is a clear message that Donald Trump's illegal behavior disqualifies him, and that the court should play it out, and then you kind of try to move from there. But I think that would be even pretty tough in this party, given what you see in the poll numbers.
Yeah. Well, it actually ended up getting worse for Haley. To your point, you'd mentioned her slavery comments before, where she said that the cause of the Civil War was states' rights, the follow-up for which should always be states' rights to do what? She was pressed on that, and here's what she said.
And this, of course, is referring back to New Hampshire, where you were asked to explain the cause of the Civil War. You obviously did not mention slavery. And afterwards, you came up, you said that was a mistake. In fact, you said it should have been the first thing that you said. So you did come out and say that. Chris Christie, though, came out and said that you gave that answer not because you're, in his words, dumb or racist, but because you're, quote, unwilling to offend anyone by telling the truth. What do you say to that?
No one's ever said that I am unwilling to offend. I offend plenty of people because I call people out when they do something wrong. What I will tell you is Chris Christie is from New Jersey. I should have said slavery right off the bat. But if you grow up in South Carolina, literally in second and third grade, you learn about slavery. You grow up and you have, I had black friends growing up. It is a very talked about thing. We have a big history in South Carolina when it comes to, slavery, when it comes to all the things that happened with the Civil War, all that. I was thinking past slavery and talking about the lesson that we would learn going forward. I shouldn't have done that. I should have said slavery, but in my mind, that's a given that everybody associates the Civil War with slavery.
Yeah, the I had black friends growing up line that hasn't worked for a long time now. People were making fun of that in the Archie Bunker era, before either of our time, Brian. So I don't think that's going to land now. She said something else revealing in that answer towards the end of it, where she talked about how good leaders don't choose sides. Right, about how in a state like South Carolina, you have to respect the people that think that the Confederacy was a sign of heritage and respect, and you have to respect the people that thought it was slavery and awful, and then you've got to try to work together. And it's like, that's not really right. Actually, good leadership on moral issues is showing moral clarity. And Nikki Haley has just demonstrated that she's unable to show moral clarity. And I think that's what ties together the problems that she's run into in the past week on the pardon question and on the slavery question, is when you're not clear on on your core values, and when you're not clear on which voters you're trying to reach and who you're trying to speak to with your core values, then you end up all over the place. And so I thought it was a very unintentionally revealing little line, to talk about how a leader doesn't pick a side. It's like she's saying that because she's not picking a side right now, and she wants to be a leader, and that's not really how it works.
Right, she's giving herself cover for her inability to have any moral clarity here.
Exactly.
Look, I may be too far removed from these circles to really have a good understanding here, but is it really that important to pander to the slavery apologists? What the fuck is going on that 200 years later we're pretending that we don't know what happened, we don't know the cause of the Civil War? Like, what is it really that potent of an issue to be able to pander to these people that the Nikki Haleys of the world are too afraid to just come out and say that the cause of the Civil War was slavery?
Yeah, I think that this is where being from South Carolina really hurt her. Because I think that the answer to that question is no, that's not that important in the New Hampshire primary for sure, even in Iowa, right? But because she was embroiled, and you got to give Haley credit, she did the right thing taking the Confederate flag down. Because she was embroiled in that controversy in South Carolina, because she came up in South Carolina politics, she's been to a lot of meetings of Republicans in South Carolina where you've got the guys that are the Civil War reenactors and you've got the people that are still calling it the War of Northern Aggression. Like
Right.
she knows those people intimately. And so I think she might be overstating in her head like how important that demo is to winning a Republican primary. There still is no doubt there's still a significant chunk of the Republican base that wants to do lost cause propaganda. But you can definitely win a Republican primary without them. They're not a majority of the party, and so I think that Nikki, got kind of wrapped around the axle on this because of her personal experience and was overthinking it. And again, you're overthinking this stuff when you don't have the moral clarity and you don't have the faith in the voter, that they can just accept the truth, right? I mean, in some ways, it's a very condescending view of the Republican base. So, like, she doesn't even think that they could handle the truth.
Right. Yeah, that's perfectly put. Finally, I want to play an ad for you, and this is the first Trump campaign ad that's hitting Nikki Haley.
Yet Haley joined Biden in opposing Trump's visitor ban from terrorist nations. Haley's weakness puts us in grave danger. Trump's strength protects us.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
All right, so what are your thoughts on this ad?
Yeah, I really wanted to hit on this because I think it shows something very alarming about where the Republican Party is now and how much more debased it's gotten, even in the 8 years since I was last working in a primary, right? So in 2016, Trump comes out with the Muslim ban, right? And say what you want about everybody else on that stage back in 2016, there was not a lot of courage being shown going after Trump, but to varying degrees, my candidate Jeb, I think maybe to the highest degree, people were kind of like, this is gross, or this is wrong, or we shouldn't have religious tests, or maybe they said, you might be on the right, Ted Cruz is kind of, you might be on the right track, Donald, but it's not a religion, right? In some ways, everybody was, besides Trump, was not on board with doing a Muslim ban.
Yeah.
Okay, now you fast forward 8 years. And Trump is running an ad attacking Nikki Haley, the first real meaningful ad attacking her. And the message is that she's weak because she wasn't on board with his travel ban. Now, he doesn't call it a Muslim ban in the ad, but that's what it was, right? Like that she is weak and that she wants to let brown people invade the country, because she wasn't on board with that ad. Crickets. There's nobody in the Republican Party is saying that they're upset with that. Nikki Haley isn't even defending herself by saying, Donald, like this is disgusting. Like, we believe in freedom of religion in this country, and I want a strong border, but she's not even doing that. And so I just think that it's a big reveal on how the Overton window has moved, that Trump puts this Muslim ban out in 2016 and it works. He wins the primary, but he has some pushback within the party. To now, it is his top attack, like his most effective attack within the party against his opponents is that they didn't support him on this ban. And I think that's very revealing. And the saddest part of all of it is I think it's going to work.
Well, to that point, like, do you think that it's saddling them with more baggage? Because the Overton window might have shifted within the Republican primary base voters, but like, what about when they eventually get to the general election? It's not like the rest of the electorate has just lunged to the far right the same way that the Republican primary base has. So isn't this just going to saddle these people with even more baggage because the things that were at least mostly taboo in 2016, they're just coming out and yelling it through a bullhorn now?
I think it could, but Democrats are going to have to make the case. I think there are a couple complicating factors. Like on the one hand, the Muslim ban, the religious test, I do think should be used by Democrats, particularly to reach out to your younger voters.
Yeah.
Muslim voters, like the TikTok crowd. We've been talking about this. Like, Joe Biden's concerned about this. Our younger voters are upset about what's happening in Israel. Is there a way to to make sure to remind all of these voters between now and November, wait a minute here, like about how insane and illiberal and anti-Muslim and racist and bigoted the other side is. I think so. I think that's helpful. The immigration, though, issue is a tough one right now, I think, for Democrats. And so I would be hopeful that you can frame, put this in a frame where, you can be concerned about illegal immigration at the border and also not want to get on board with something as un-American as this. And so I do think that it could be used as ammo, but it's got to be framed in the right way.
Yeah, perfectly put. And of course, for those viewers who want to hear more from Tim, you can check him out on The Bulwark. That's his YouTube channel, and they post throughout the week. So if you're not yet subscribed to The Bulwark, I'll put the link right here on the screen and also in the post description of this video. So again, if you're not yet subscribed, please make sure to subscribe. That's the best way to support Tim's work. With that said, I'm Brian Tyler Cohen.
I'm Tim Miller.
This is Inside the Right.